The latest this morning, the US and Iran exchanging fresh strikes, with the White House saying little progress has been made towards a deal. General Karen Gibson of Academy Securities writing, "I suspect and hope negotiations may be more advanced than either side is letting on, at least publicly, despite the rhetoric. And in many ways, the action too." General Gibson joins us now for more. General, welcome to the programme. Where do you suspect we have made some progress?
Well, I think that if we had a complete lack of progress, we would be seeing more aggressive actions on the part of the United States, whether that was additional significant sanctions or strikes beyond the ones we've been doing. You know, I maintain that the ceasefire, while fragile, is still holding despite the strikes that we've had over the last 3 days. What characterizes these strikes is that they are very narrowly specific to aggressive actions that Iran was alleged to be making in and around the Strait of Hormuz, Bandar Abbas, whether that was vessels laying mines that would potentially constrain navigation and traffic, or one-way drones. And it's important to remember that even under a ceasefire, you do not lose the inherent right of self-defense. So if we were not making progress in negotiations, we might see broader strikes further somewhere else in Iran that more clearly violated the ceasefire. But I think these are very defense-related, self-defense-related, and within the bounds of the ceasefire.
If these are defense-related, then is the United States doing anything in terms of deterrence when it comes to Iran?
Well, I think our presence acts as a deterrent as well. I mean, the fact that if Iran were to, out of the blue strike some kind of Gulf infrastructure or civilian targets or something else that was in the broader Gulf region against one of our partners, I think it would be, certainly I would expect the United States to take some broad action, probably additional punishing airstrikes. And Iran knows that we can do that and that we're prepared to do that, won't hesitate to do that. And that in itself is a form of deterrence.
Given these recent clashes, do you understand where the red lines are in terms of kinetic warfare between Iran and the United States?
Yeah. So again, you'd never give up the right of self-defense, even under a ceasefire. And so if these were activities that were identified that looked as though they would threaten navigation or directly threaten our naval assets and air assets that are there right off the Strait of Hormuz, that's permitted. I think that's an important distinction. And even Iran's counterstrike, in which they launched assets towards Kuwait, they claim to have shot down one of our predators. I don't believe it. It's always kind of a given that they're going to exaggerate for their own domestic audiences. Those are, I think, probably within the bounds of the ceasefire. I'd make two more points there. One, if we were striking dual-use military civil infrastructure elsewhere in Iran that wasn't directly related to the navigation in the Straits, that's probably not within the bounds of the ceasefire. Again, back to if Iran were to strike, say, Fujairah again in the Emirates, their port outside the Strait of Hormuz, that would probably not be within the bounds of the ceasefire. But the last point I'd make is that a ceasefire is not a real physical thing. It's a construct that's developed between the two negotiating sides by policymakers or leaders. And it's really up to them to decide that a ceasefire is no longer holding, whether it's because of a single shot across the bow or something far more extensive.
General, you said something there that I thought was really important, that Iran obviously exaggerates for its audience. The U.S. also tried to jawbone markets, and this is one reason why markets have tuned out. Who are the respective parties trying to speak to, and how is that muddying the message?
That's a terrific point. I think, both sides, in probably any conflict, I think the leaders are speaking, particularly in Iran, to their own domestic audience. They need to appear strong. They need to make the United States look weak. They want to make it look as though we are the ones that are about to give and concede something. That strategic narrative is actually also an area where we're competing. They are speaking directly to their domestic audience. Our president is speaking to our domestic audience, but there are also broader market audiences that both are speaking to. And I think we have to be really careful about taking literally everything that's said by a spokesperson from either government. There's often truth within it, but then there will be other things that are said that are hyperbolic or, again, intended to calm or influence markets, to shape public opinion, and to influence the other side.
We've been wrestling with that for months. General, appreciate it. General Karen Gibson there of Academy Securities. That was the question. We know what the audiences are. What do you trust And that's the problem.
Yeah, in this swirl of disinformation, a lot of people have tuned